Good afternoon and welcome to the Live Wire. I'm Meg Whalen. I'm the Director of Communications for the College of Arts and Architecture. And today we have two guests with us. We have our own professor of cello, Mira Frisch, and a guest from Winthrop University, Mark Lewis, who is a composer. And Mira and Mark are here to talk to us about an upcoming concert, part of our Department of Music Faculty and Friends series, on Sunday, November 16th at 2 o'clock in our Rowe Recital Hall. It is the Madison Park String Quartet. And Mira, just why don't you begin by telling us a little bit about that quartet and who are the musicians and how it came to be and what we can expect to hear on Sunday.
Okay. Well, the Madison Park String Quartet has been around for about 5 years, and we started playing together in Charlotte. The other three members of the quartet came to know each other through their employment with the Charlotte Symphony. The members of the quartet are Carrie Giles, who is the assistant concertmaster of the Charlotte Symphony, Jenny Toplow, who's a violinist with the symphony, and Kirsten Swanson, who used to play viola with the symphony. And I moved to town in 2007 to teach at UNC Charlotte, and I actually previously knew two of the members from my former life, and so we formed together to start playing one quartet concert a year at UNC Charlotte, and we've really enjoyed working together. And lately, we've become more interested in commissioning new works, especially by North Carolina composers. 2 years ago, we played a quartet by John Allmeyer, UNC Charlotte's own professor of composition, and we performed it again on his Murder Ballads concert at the Knight Theater in Charlotte last summer. And we're really excited this concert to be performing Mark Lewis's brand new string quartet that he wrote for us. It's going to make up the bulk of the program, the first half of the program. And we'll be performing a couple other smaller works by really famous composers, but we'll be playing works that a lot of people don't know because they're short one-movement works on the second half.
Great, that's great. And we have a picture for people to see, the members of the quartet. Kirsten actually teaches viola for us now.
I forgot to mention that.
Which is great.
She's a wonderful viola teacher. We're so lucky to have her.
Yeah. And so this is a great example of faculty and friends. We have two faculty and two friends coming to perform on November 16th. So we're really excited to have you here, Mark, to tell us firsthand something about this piece that you have created for the string quartet. A kind of fun little fact is that Carrie Giles, one of the violinists in this quartet, is your wife now, although she was a member of the quartet before she was married to you.
Yeah,
so
I married the quartet.
You married the quartet.
And the symphony. Yeah.
But why don't you first maybe just tell us a little bit about you as a composer and your work in general, and then how this fits into that larger context.
Sure. Well, I think it's exciting to be a composer right now because you can basically write anything you want, and it's all valid in a lot of ways. Its merit, its qualities is the only thing that really matters. So I guess my compositional technique or style or language varies from piece to piece. In general, my music kind of leans more towards neo-romanticism or postmodernism or whatever you want to call it. This particular quartet actually is a completely different style for me, or different language for me. It's a lot darker. I don't know why I wrote it, in a wonderful period of my life, but for some reason this just came out dark, and that's what it had to be. And I based it. I had the whole idea of basing it on poems. So I based it. It's 4 movements. It's based on a poem by the Jabberwock by
Lewis Carroll.
Lewis Carroll. And actually, I have them right here. I was going to maybe just read a couple of lines from each poem.
Yeah, that'd be great.
The first movement is called Jabberwock, and it's based on Lewis Carroll's Jabberwocky. And I thought about, if this particular movement, if it could be based on the perspective of the Jabberwock. So it's first person. But this is the line that really struck me. It's, "Beware the Jabberwock, my son, the jaws that bite, the claws that catch." And so that's kind of, you're going to hear that rhythm and that movement.
Sort of scary.
Yeah, the music's kind of scary, I guess. And the second movement is a tarantella, and a tarantella is a type of dance. It's a traditional dance. Traditionally, you get crazier and crazier, and it uses the tarantella rhythm in it. But this is a poem, Belloc, and it's, do you remember an inn, Miranda? Do you remember an inn? And the tedding and the spreading of the straw for a bedding. So that particular rhythm, those are the lines that struck me. That particular rhythm, you're going to find it dee dee da 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 dee, and the actually of the tumultuous music, it stops. It becomes stagnant, and you hear that. The third movement is called My Love is Building a Tower, and it's actually based on E. Cummings' My Love is Building a Building. And my love is building a building around you, a frail, slippery house, a strong, fragile house. And so this movement has a lot of space in it, I would say. And it's lyrical but broken apart, and it just allows the listener to get in there and move around to
It's a very beautiful movement.
Yeah.
And the last movement is called Toccata, and then I call it Touch Toccata, and it's based on a poem called Galuppi Baldassaro Toccata, and it is Robert Browning, and there's a line in here that just really struck me. Did young people ever take their pleasure when the sea was warm in May? 10 balls and masks begun at midnight, burning ever midday. That was the line that I drew from it. And it talks about the toccata, playing toccatas in it, but that's the line that struck me, and you'll find that rhythm in there. So I based each movement on rhythms, essentially,
right.
From just the rhyme scheme of the poems, but also the character of each movement. And it ranges from dark to suddenly just long, lyrical, lush lines. So.
And when did you begin working on this particular piece?
I started it, I wrote it in 2013, and they were going to do a concert earlier, but things happened. And so it got delayed. So it was 2013, over a period of, like, I don't know, a couple of months.
And will this be the first public performance of it?
It will.
So this is the premiere.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's really exciting. Yeah. I have on the screen, people can see your website, Mark, so people can learn more about your music here.
Yeah, just go to the Listen tab, and there's a selection of music for orchestra, band, soloists.
And how long have you been at Winthrop University?
This is my 8th year. Yeah.
I have here a piece we can listen to a little bit.
And this is a string trio written for the Concordia Trio. It was actually going to be performed by Alan's group on the 9th.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
And when was this piece composed?
2007. And there are some elements of this that are in the quartet, actually, but for the most part, it's quite different.
Yeah. So it's interesting that that this string quartet has this kind of programmatic kernel source seed,
which is completely different than I normally. Usually go completely abstract direction, just whatever sounds I'm hearing. But I'm preparing to write a sort of opera. Fairly soon, but
that's
we can talk about that later.
That's really exciting.
A collaboration with UNC Charlotte, actually, as well. So, yeah,
I
we'll
didn't
be
even
doing
know
that
about that.
Hopefully,
Yeah,
next
well,
year.
we're still.
We're still in
wonderful.
the planning stages.
Yeah.
Oh, how exciting! Yeah, that's
It's
really
gonna
great.
It'll involve Brian, her husband.
Right. Yeah. Great. Yes, Mira's husband is also a professor here, professor of voice and opera singer, and just was in fact, Nabucco. With Opera Carolina. So that's a wonderful partnership to develop there. On the second half of the program, a lot of these little short pieces also have their root in some kind of poetry or play or film or photograph. It's really kind of it makes for a nice program overall to have these musical reveries, I guess, almost on these other items or other stories. So Mira, tell us a little bit. I know we have a piece by John Corigliano, who is a very famous American composer, living American composer, and maybe for the general public, he's probably best known for his film composition for the Red Violin, which is a beautiful film score, and I think it won
Josh Bell.
Right, and it won the Oscar, I believe, that year for Best Film Score, and it's really wonderful. So tell us about the little piece that you're playing, and then I actually have a little bit of it we can listen to.
Well, this is my favorite story of the whole program. So he wrote this piece, I believe, in 2003, and he was asked by a quartet to write a work based on a photograph. And so he selected a photograph, a family photograph from 1909, from when his father was a little boy, an 8-year-old violinist. And so the picture is the composer's father is an 8-year-old boy with his violin, posed next to the composer's uncle, the violinist's older brother, who was a teenager at the time and was playing guitar. And it's just a really beautiful, kind of special old family photograph. And so Corigliano created this quartet where at the opening you hear a beautiful melody played by the second violin. It's fairly simple in the lower register of the instrument, and that represents the little boy, the technique and musicianship he had at the time. And it's accompanied, that melody, by the rest of the string quartet strumming like a guitar, which represents the older brother. And then when that melody concludes, the first violin enters muted in a high register and plays a dreamlike section that is meant to represent the little boy's dream of becoming a professional violinist and being able to play in the high register with a lot of virtuosity. And at the end of the quartet, the two violinists, the boy and his dream, come together, also accompanied by the guitar, for a really, beautiful conclusion. And what's so neat about that story is the little boy in the photograph grew up to become one of the greatest violinists of the 20th century. He performed as concertmaster of the New York Philharmonic.
Oh, isn't that wonderful? Yeah, that's a really, really great story. Let me play a little bit of that music. It's so lyrical and has a real nostalgic feel too.
That's the guitar.
This piece has been played in Charlotte.
I don't know.
I'm not aware of it having been played here, so it may be the Charlotte premiere.
It may be. That's exciting.
Yeah, it is. The most famous composer, I guess, on the program is Dmitri Shostakovich, and this is his earliest...
First quartet.
Right, his earliest writing for string quartet from 1931, I think, and it's probably the oldest piece on the program. Tell me a little bit about these two pieces for string quartet.
Well, there's an elegy and a polka for string quartet, and they're both directly taken from Shostakovich's stage works. So the elegy is taken from his opera, Lady Macbeth, and the polka is taken from a ballet, The Golden Ages. And the elegy is actually an aria that's sung by Katerina. She's a very tragic character in the opera. She is in an unhappy marriage, and she has a mean father-in-law, and she's eventually seduced by a farmhand named Sergei, who's a womanizer, but somehow he seduces her, and they go on a murder spree together and kill her husband and father-in-law, and then they flee, and fleeing the trouble with the law, and eventually, since he's a womanizer, he finds another woman, and Katerina is heartbroken and anguished and tries to drown the other woman, and the opera ends when both women drown together, and so it's just a tragic story. And Shostakovich in this quartet presents her aria that she sings just before she's seduced by Sergei. And Shostakovich kind of portrays Katerina in a slightly more positive light than others who've told this story by giving her really beautiful melodies. So the elegy is really beautiful and really features the first violin.
I actually have a little bit of the text from that aria. The foal runs after the filly, the tomcat seeks the queen, the dove hastens to his mate, but no one hurries to me. The wind caresses the birch tree, the sun warms it with its heat. For everyone there's a smile, but no one comes to me. So it's obviously a song of loneliness. No one will put his hand around my waist. No one will press his lips to mine. No one will stroke my white breast. No one will tire me with passionate embraces. And then of course he does come and do those things, but probably it was not
Bad
so
influence.
great as it turned out.
Yeah.
So here's a little bit of that elegy. Very tuneful. Of course, that opera had all kinds of scandal associated with it. The interesting thing about Shostakovich is that he was living right in the midst of the Soviet period, and he kind of simultaneously struggled against it, but also capitulated to it. And so he is a composer surrounded by controversy. I mean, actually, there's still lots of argument in the music history circles about whether he really was supportive of Stalin or whether he was really rebelling against Stalin. And I've actually been at conferences where people get into rip-roaring arguments over it. It's funny how it's still an unresolved thing. And what's interesting is that the second piece, this polka, came from a very Soviet ballet where the bourgeois is represented as being, or the Western, I guess, Western culture is represented as being bourgeois and
the depraved eroticism that Shostakovich, right.
Yeah, I can't imagine the government making mandates on my music. It must be, nationalistic.
I know. I mean, it's such a different environment to have to compose in those circumstances, and then for you to be able to compose whatever you want and not have to worry about.
Well, that could just be apathy too,
But I think with Lady Macbeth, actually, it was first praised and then condemned, and he constantly was dealing with the threat of government condemnation and therefore punishment. So, so this polka, do you tell us it's the Golden Age is the ballet?
The Golden Age is the ballet, and the polka represents the depraved eroticism of the Western culture, the Western European culture. The ballet is a story about a Soviet soccer team that tours to Western Europe, and they're treated poorly, even imprisoned in this Western European city. And the composer's aim in the ballet was to bring out the contrast between the Soviet and the Western European culture. And the Soviet dances in the ballet are very, according to the composer, very wholesome and physical and strong. And the polka, like we mentioned, he labeled it as the depraved eroticism of the
So let's hear a
Western
little
European.
bit of that Western depraved eroticism. It's actually kind of fun.
I think both polkas on the program are fun.
Yeah, we should. Sounds like Shostakovich.
It does.
So talk a little bit about the playing and how that sound is created on the string.
Oh, you mean the plucking? So it's pretty simple, just like how a guitar is played, just plucking the string. We put our bows down and just literally pull the string off the fingerboard with our finger and let it speak.
So there are two polkas. There's this polka and then
The Schnitka polka.
a polka by Alfred Schnitka. So a lot of dance music. We got Tarantella in your piece, and we've got polka, and then we also have tango.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about the two tango pieces.
Well, we're
program.
performing one tango that's by the singer Gardel. That's kind of just an arrangement of a very famous popular tango, arranged for string quartet. And then we're also playing a tango by Astor Piazzolla for string quartet, and he's really famous sort of art music composer who wrote in the style of the Argentinian folk tango. And that piece is really exciting. It's just full of rhythmic intensity. All the performers get to do things like, tap our instruments to make percussive sounds. There's these sounds called whips where we just like that, we whip our finger up the string to make a real high-pitched, it doesn't sound like a string
Sounds a little
instrument.
like the Psycho theme.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Yeah, the shower scene. Yeah.
But with a slide. Yeah.
Right.
Slide.
Yeah.
And lots of just percussive, techniques with the bow. And it's just really exciting to listen to.
And so it kind of makes a nice, because of the rhythmic vitality of that final, because that's the last piece on the program, I believe, isn't it? The Piazzolla is?
I believe so.
I believe so. I actually have the program here. I will cheat and look. Yes, it is.
Okay.
4 for Tango,
I'm glad.
which follows the more popular, simple, The Day That You Love Me is the name of the little tango pop song. And so to have that very rhythmically exciting work, sort of bookending your piece that has so much rhythmic.
Well, there's even more special treat because Daniel and his wife, Daniel's a tango instructor in the area.
Beautiful
I've
dancer.
actually studied with him, but I'm terrible.
Oh, you can tango, huh?
No.
Carrie can tango.
Yeah, Carrie's tango.
Oh, how
Tangoista.
exciting.
Yeah, no.
You're learning.
But anyway, he and his wife are going to be dancing to that piece.
Oh, I didn't know
Yeah.
that. Oh, isn't that fun?
It's
so
really
we'll have
exciting.
actual
We're going to have
tango.
dancers, and we're also going to have some poetry read between each piece. So it'll be a really fun event.
So will someone
Interdisciplinary.
read the poems that your works? Great. Who will do those readings?
Well, we're planning on having Brian Ariola,
Yeah.
our opera professor,
was
read
looking
those
at you.
particular
Right.
poems. But all the details haven't
been worked
yet.
out. So it really is a nice convergence of various art forms, literature, music, and dance. And so again, this performance, and let me bring up the slide that shows people all of the pertinent information. It is part of our Faculty and Friends concert series. This is a series that the Department of Music presents each year, and we have 5 or 6 concerts each year.
They're all wonderful, so I recommend that people come to all of them if
Right,
they can,
and
the remaining ones.
you can find on our website, arts.uncc.edu, the list, not only the information about this concert, but the other upcoming Faculty and Friends concerts that will resume in January. This is the last one for the fall semester. and they'll resume in January. The tickets are so reasonable, $9 for general admission and $7 for seniors and UNC Charlotte faculty and staff, and $6 for any student. And it's in Rowe Recital Hall. And another nice thing, this is the first year we've had this series over in Rowe Recital Hall, but Rowe is also our visual art building, and we have galleries there, and so we will have those galleries open prior to the concert, 1 hour before, and people can go in and see right at that point. I believe it'll be the best of our student BFA student work, graphic design and sculpture and painting and drawing. So encourage people to come a little early and go to that. So visit our website to purchase tickets, or the box office is at Robinson Hall, even though the performance is at Rowe Recital Hall, although the day of the concert, Sunday the 16th at 2 o'clock, tickets can be purchased there on site. So thank you so much for being here to tell us about the music. Are there any plans to record the string quartet?
We definitely have plans to record it. Yeah, those plans are still in the works, but we'll make sure it's recorded and you know, produced by a professional label, because it's really a first-rate piece, and we need other quartets to hear about this piece and also perform it all over the world. It's really special.
Yeah, so as soon as we know more about that, people can learn about it on our website.
Right.
So, and on your website.
Yes.
My website. Yeah.
So good. Well, thank you so much, and we look forward to the concert on the 16th.
Thank you.
That's all for the Live Wire. Thank you for joining us, and please tune in at the same time next week.